Okay, we're going to a question. Clear, I know you've been trying to get this question. You got Mashiach and in the yeshiva. We got your question. We're finally going to deal with this question. Clear wanted to ask us about Matityahu, Matthew. Let's turn there together. A passage that I think many of us are familiar with. Matthew 23, okay, verses 5-12. And why we use titles such as Rabbi and Niskarpon, what you see us said not to do. I want to turn there to Matityahu, Matthew, Matai, he had many names. Levi was his real name.
Mathisyahu.
Yeah, Mathisyahu, yes. But we're turning there, and I think for the sake of this, because you wanted to start verse 5, we always say that it's important not to take scriptures out of context.
Yeah.
And if you don't read verse 1 through 4, you're going to miss the mark, I think, in verse 5 to 12. So obviously we might have different interpretation among even us, but we'll take it verse by verse, okay? We'll do kind of a mini Bible study verse by verse together. So it says, "Haz yedaber Yeshua el amon ha'am." Then Yeshua spoke it to the people. Ve'el talmidav le'emor. First of all, we need to ask the question. Yeshua used the term here, Hamon ha'am. Who is Hamon ha'am? Who is Yeshua talking to? Clear. The first question you need to ask yourself here, who is talking and in what context? Okay, context. Steve, you touched on that last time so much. How important context in reading the scriptures. Who is Hamon ha'am? Steve, who do you think Hamon ha'am is?
Okay, you're starting in verse 1 of 23?
Yeah, who is Yeshua is talking about? I think
the common people.
Exactly, Amon Am is like saying Am Haaretz. Common people, but Am, who is the Am?
Nation, Israel.
The Jewish people.
Yeah.
So we need to first of all start here, understand Yeshua not talking to Gentiles. Yeshua speaking exclusively to Jewish people. Everybody in agreement there? Amon Ha'am is the common people, okay? And what does he say to him? Al Kiseh Moshe, on the seat of Moshe, Yashvu, okay, Asofrim ve'aprushim. What does it mean on the seat of Moses? What is the seat of Moses? Let's start there. You want to give your own word on this, Yecheskel? I see you already open it.
Yeah. A good question. The Kisei Moshe, we know. Well, first, archaeological descriptions have, archaeological findings have actually found that
there is a physical seat.
Yeah, there's a physical seat that had a specific authority that sat in it to interpret the Torah of Moses.
We call it basically putting together halacha.
Exactly.
To be a posek or a dayan.
Exactly.
So in many places the Torah is ambiguous, and people come in the first century to ask questions about the interpretation of the law of Moses. Where do they go? Well, they go to the shul. In the shul there was a shul, the synagogue, there was a place called a seat of Moses. It's a seat where you come in front of the, what we call in Judaism, a posek, or a dayan, to bring this case in front of them. Rabbi Steve, you want to add anything to this before?
Yes. Basically, okay, historically, Judaism speaks of three seats. Kisei David, which is the seat of the kingship. Kisei Aharon, which is the seat of the priesthood. And Kisei Moshe, which derives from the prophets, as in chapter 1 of the Pirkei Avot.
Interesting. That's good.
That it was the authority went from Moses to Joshua to the judges, to the prophets, to the Anshe Knesset Hagdolah.
Isn't it interesting, Rabbi Steve, it reminds me our system today, our executive, our legislative system in a way, it's kind of very similar.
Exactly.
Very, very similar.
Now, like I point out, the seat of Moshe, for those who want to know where the Sanhedrin, even the rabbis, have a right to sit in that seat, it originates in the Torah, like everything is supposed to originate. Nothing can be fabricated outside the 5 books of Moses. And the origins is Parsha Shoftim, the Parsha of Judges, okay? A Shofet, if you will, a Posek, a Dayan. They're literally a legal judge. And we know in Deuteronomy 16, and originally originates in the Torah Parsha Mishpatim, actually, but the expansion of it is in Parsha Shoftim, where it says, Shoftim v'sotrim titen lecha. I'm judges and officers who shall appoint in your cities. Now, the judges and the officers, of course, the judges, if you will, are the legal representatives in the seat of Moses. Then the force, if you will, of course, in those days you had two Sanhedrin, a Beit Din Gadol, high Sanhedrin 70 seat, and a Beit Din Katan 23 seat. So one decreed the law or interpret, the other enforce the law to make sure. But here's what you do. If you go down to verse 9 of Deuteronomy 17, the Torah tells us there, it says, Uvata'el hakohanim halevi'im ve'et hashofet asher yihei bayamim hahem. In those days, you shall go to the religious authorities. In those days. So Matthew 23 is in those days. It's future tense.
Amazing.
Right?
That's cool. Yeah, that's really, really good. So he's really talking here about the judicial power, okay?
Right.
Now, here's a question I want to ask you two gentlemen. Why you say Yashvu, he's talking about the past. Why is he not saying that they Ishvu? I guess it's how you read this word, but the way I read the word, and Rabbi Steve, the way I see the word is Yashvu.
Right.
Okay? Are they not sitting there today?
Yeah, see, but right, yes, they are sitting there today.
They are sitting there today. Yashvu. Okay.
Because it's referring to an authority that was established in days before.
Yashvu.
And that's why even if we look at the future tense I just quoted from a Shoftim, it indicates that the authority that was established past tense continues in the future.
Yes, yes.
Right.
And by the way, who are the Pushim today? Do we have a Pushim today?
Technically, the Orthodox rabbis, the Orthodoxy represent the school of Hillel.
Okay.
They're supposed to represent, even though you might find a couple Shammai in there, you know.
We have to make a distinction now in verse 3 between authority. And people make did not make the distinction between authority and abusement of authority. In verse 2...
Or between what they say and how they act.
Yeah, but you see, just because somebody acts some way that is negative, it doesn't mean that he doesn't have the authority to act, to the authority, because all authority is given from God. And I think in verse 2, Yeshua makes the point that the authority is given from above. You know, that is an important point. Okay? Because look at the first word in verse 3. Lachen, it's a cause and effect, right? Lachen is therefore, okay? Therefore, kol asher yomru lachem, everything they say to you, and what are they saying? You said that there are shoftim. Shofet, how is he give a ruling? He gave a ruling with his amirah, with his word. So he's talking about the religious ruling. He say, abide by their halachot. Abide by their psika, you know? Yomru lachem lishmor, shimru ve'asu. Why does he use this term, shimru ve'asu? This is very important as well. Strong language. Asiyah mean acting upon judgment. Let me say, give an example. Let's say I get a ticket to pay $20, okay, for a speeding ticket. Just because I got the ticket doesn't mean I actually pay the ticket. You know what I mean? He says that our responsibility is not just to accept what the rabbis say, act upon it. In essence, he gives further validation to the rabbis here.
Yeah.
Yes, Steve, you wanted to add anything on this?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Okay, so he's giving great...
He said a but of all. Go ahead, Rabbi.
Yeah, yeah.
But all of us are idiots sometimes. Every one of us. So you form a cult if you follow a person blindly.
That's true.
Don't do that.
Right.
Follow the teaching, not the person.
Yeah, that's good. Ach, so here the word ach, but, so before we say therefore, but now we say there's a but here. Kemahaseem lo ta'asu. Don't do as their action. Ki omrim hem ve'enam osim. What does it mean by that?
For they teach, but they don't practice.
Yeah.
No kavanah.
No, he said they do. but they have no kavanah. Ki maaseh.
yeah,
There's
ki maaseh,
maaseh. There is asiyah.
There's deeds, yeah.
Right? There is asiyah in what
But
is.
not according to the deeds.
So, look, Judaism for the most part today, I'm not talking about Hasidic Judaism, I'm talking about Orthodox. They tell you just in the asiyah itself, just by doing, you're already...
You have
you
merit.
complete a mitzvah.
Yeah.
You know, you complete a mitzvah. I think Yeshua, in a way, kind of take it to the next level. And he says the asiyah is almost in both camps. Because Judaism said today the asiyah is the essence. Yeshua say asiyah is the essence as long as the asiyah is done with the proper kavanah. Yes?
Well, yeah, and even in Orthodox Judaism, they say the asiyah is, that's the essence, in that doing will lead to the kavanah.
You're
If
right.
you don't have it to begin with.
Right. And I guess Yeshua was saying here that make sure, he's give a warning, make sure that your asiyah lead to the proper kavanah.
Right.
Make sure your asiyah you're doing will take you to the right places. Oh no, he's warning us. Because he's saying, listen to verse 4, because they put prison on people heavy loads, ve'omsim al shechem ha'anashim, and they will not lift a finger to do it. Okay? In essence, I believe Yeshua is giving a prophecy here. In many ways. It's a prophecy.
Yeah.
You know, being a Jew, I mean a full abiding Jew,
It's not easy.
it's complicated. We have rules and laws for everything. And
In the
Yeshua does,
galut, it's very hard.
yeah, but Yeshua doesn't say there is nothing inherently wrong with the rules and the laws. Okay? What there is an issue is if the laws, here's the bench point for me, if the laws they give you cause you to act like them.
Yeah.
Right.
If what you're doing cause you to be like them, stay away, steer clear. He's not talking against them. He said, do it. Just make sure it doesn't turn you to be them. Because remember, who are the them? The them, they're rabbis.
Yeah.
They're sitting on the seat of Moses. You say, okay, the rabbi going to give you the reasoning. Accept the reasoning, but please understand, don't turn to be like them. And I think there's some prophetic thing, because Yeshua is in essence talking about here kind of the hardness. There's a remiss for the hardness of the heart of the religious leaders. And here in verse 5, we finally get to your point. It says, "Ve'osim et kol ma'aseim," they do all their deeds, their work, "liraot lahem lebnei adam," so that other people will see him. They expanded the tefillas, their prayers, and they expanded the tzitziyot. And they are the first one in the meals. By the way, when he says seudot here, we exactly know what is the seudot. He's talking about the 3 seudot of Shabbat.
Yeah.
You're talking about the 3 meals of Shabbat, you know? Al Meshaveh Rosh B'Batei HaKnesset, they sit ahead and they say, and I think we all ran into those people, Jewish or not. Those are the people, who wants to be looked good.
Yeah.
They want to be looked good. Give you the
Yeah,
Shabbat smile. as I
we've
call
all
it.
seen it. You know, Jesus loves you, but I'm his favorite.
Yeah, exactly. ואת השאלה, those who talk to you in the shvakim, and here he's coming to this point. ואת אשר יקראו להם בני אדם, Rabbi. What is it? If you ever been around Jew, you know, in a synagogue, especially, I can talk about the Sephardic synagogue. Okay, in my synagogue, that is in Iraqi synagogue, you walk in, everybody. You ask, who's the rabbi here? Who's the rabbi here? Excuse me, who's the rabbi here? Do you know what else to answer to you in the Iraqi synagogue? We all rabbis here. Each one of us are rabbis here. פה הוא אומר לי, I ask, who's the rabbi? הוא אומר, כולם צדיקים פה. כולם רבנים פה. We don't need a rabbi because we are all rabbis.
All the big machers.
But you see that especially in Judaism, as in Israel, you know, walk into an Orthodox synagogue in Israel. Slicha, tzaddik. Oh, tzaddik. How do you know he's a tzaddik?
You're right.
Nobody knows.
You don't know if he's a tzaddik.
Right? You hear it in
no, you're
Toronto
right,
sometimes.
you're right, you're
Slicha,
right. No,
excuse me,
yeah,
tzaddik,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Is it tzaddik?
No, that's right.
What Yeshua is talking about here is a principle that we call ahmadat panim.
Yeah.
Putting a face in front of somebody else.
False honor.
False honor. He's talking about a false honor. Exactly. Ulam atem al tikreu rabbi. Read it in context of verse 7. Don't call anybody rabbi because one is your rabbi, a Mashiach. He doesn't say that a person cannot be a rabbi. That's not his point, as we're going to prove in a second, verse 9 and 10, okay? He's saying don't put a face to build false honor, to give a false honor, because we are doing it. It's something, something about the Jewish system, and Steve, you probably raised with this. There's something about honor with Jewish people that's very strong. You see it a lot with the Eastern cultures. I see that along with the Asians and with the Indians too. It's an Eastern, to honor the thing, sometimes give. But in Judaism, the idea, you see, tzaddik, tzaddik, tzaddik. Oh, you see that in Israel. Everybody is a rabbi in Israel. Everybody is a tzaddik in Israel. And that's what Yeshua is talking about. So do you want to add anything, Steve? Or Yecheskel, anything you want to add? Or should we continue?
No, definitely. I mean, it's an honor system.
It's an honor system. So when he says here, Echadu Rabchem HaMashiach, he says, he doesn't say a person cannot be a rabbi. He said, again, look, why in verse 7, he say, don't do it in public.
Yeah.
Where is a person called Rabbi? In public.
And the other thing is, the Talmud tells us that in those days, nobody actually carried the title rabbi.
That's true.
It really didn't come into play until Yavna.
That's right.
That's right.
And a Ribbi was actually an honorable title that people carried around. Not rabbi, a Rav, well, it means a great one. Ribbi, or Rebbe in a sense, is a person that's highly elevated. But that was supposed to be something reserved between disciple and teacher. It was being abused.
Yes.
It was honorary titles. People were...
You see, that's why people confuse verse 7 with those who sit on the seat of Moses.
Yeah.
Those are not the same people.
Different.
That is the issue. Please understand, those people in verse 2 who sit on the seat of Moses, they call Sofrim and Prushim, they have nothing to do with the rabbis. People mix them together,
Right.
And actually you see that, Yeshua kind of continue even kala kechamura, or kal v'chomer, you will learn that later in the yeshiva. Al tikreu, don't call av, don't call a father, leish mimchem al adama, don't call a man a father. Wait a second, the Torah tell us, honor what? Your father and your mother. So you're trying to tell me that if a person call Yeshua to a person father, your dad a dad, if we take the literal meaning,
Violating.
yeah, he's violating Yeshua's word.
Yeah.
Wait, Shaul called Timothy, he said, you're my son, He's talking about them as children.
That's right.
We have to look at the spirit beyond this, and you see that in especially in the Middle Eastern. Like I'll walk in the street in Israel, and the Sephardic Jews speak a lot of Arabic. So what they say to each other? You see him in the street, Abuya, Abuya, Abuya. He's not your dad.
No.
Why does he call him Abuya? Abuya in Arabic means father.
Yeah.
Why? He's giving
Giving him honor.
false honor.
Yeah.
Abuya, Abuya, you're like a spiritual dad to me.
Yeah.
What? You see, that's so easy. And God willing, when we take you all in Israel, we can
You get to
stop.
see it.
You're going to get to experience so many rabbis and so many tzaddikim that are not, and so many fathers, and you will understand this passage perfectly.
Yep.
Steve, I know you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
And say, don't call somebody a leader? Wait a second.
Yeah.
The Torah tells us we're going to have leaders, judges, kings. Is he saying no? No! The point he's talking about here, our honor system. And he's warning us, the key again is verse 6 to the entire text, to understand the honoring system and 6 and 7, excuse me, 7, not to do
Right.
it in the public eye. That's
It's
very
all
important.
it's all abuse.
Don't do it to be seen by other
That's
people.
right. It's abuse of honoring to draw honor. I mean, that's really all it is. So the concept, I mean, like we mentioned, rabbi didn't become an official religious title
Right.
until after the destruction of the temple.
That's right.
You know, really, and that was it. And if anyone was called a Rabbi in those days, they were of, not that they were given that title because actually of their spiritual level they were at, but to toss it around inside the shuls and in the streets was an abuse of wanting to be recognized. Look at our Hollywood system today, right? Perfect example. Or take a look at the president, right? You know, look at people with certain political prestige. They float around on camera and they float around honorable so and so or this and that. And they're not really worthy of the
You know, to me,
title.
who will really violate this principle of Yeshua?
Who's that?
Is the Catholics.
Yeah.
That they call they themselves call the priest the Father, but when they say the Holy Father,
Yeah, the Holy Father.
or in Judaism, what do they call the great rabbi? The Admor.
Wait, what about
Admor,
Ovadia?
Yeah.
Ovadia,
Abba.
yes.
And then what did he say to him? Exactly what the text says. There is a rabbi in Israel who he passed away. Was a tzaddik. We can say he was a tzaddik. The was former chief rabbi of Israel, Rabbi Ovadia Yosef. During election year, okay, this political party called Shas, which is the Jews, Sephardic Jews, have those banners, and they have a picture of him with the skies from heavens. And what did they say? Abba is looking at you from heaven, and they have a picture of him looking at us, and they say, "Vote for us." That is exactly what.
That's right. You can still Google the image, actually.
Yeah, matter of fact, yeah. We'll put the
What was
image
Shah-
on the
what was Shammai's title?
Yeshiva page, just so you can say that is exactly what Yeshua talking about. And actually, Yeshua give the punch, the knockout punch in verse 12, and that is really the entire musar of the first 12 verses of Matityahu 23. What did he says? כל המרומם את עצמו ישפל והמשפיל את עצמו ירומם. Anybody who is seeking honor in the world, anybody who is seeking that is in the hungry, and you see that especially, you know, I was in the synagogue this year in Rosh Hashanah in Israel, and what did they do? When the guys in Rosh Hashanah take the Sefer Torah, people running after him, not to kiss the Torah, but to kiss his hand. Tzaddik, tzaddik, tzaddik. I'm not going to kiss your hand, but you know, the person, you can see the joy and the enjoyment. That is what Yeshua is really tackling here, the heart of human nature. Steve, isn't that he's dealing here with the heart of human nature here?
Yeah.
Really?
That's it.
That's it. So clear? I hope you finally get the right answer that you can address this. So again, that was fun going through this. If you understand Jewish minds in this verse, he's not saying don't call men a rabbi or a father or any of that thing. That's not his point whatsoever. Okay.